At least it's not a halogen light. Hey, good evening, everybody. How are you? Welcome to a Cured Whey MGP cheese class. I'm surrounded here by my good friends, Caroline Velasco and Jason Blanchett. And in the background, we got the Curd Nerds. Jamie and Janelle. They're still here, so it's all fun. How are you tonight? I hope everything is going well. You're all healthy and happy. And we have another fun-fulfilled cheese class. We have obviously the cheese. The cheese. I hope you took it out early enough so it gets room temperature. And we got, of course, Shannon Rich. And Jason is going to talk about that. And Caroline and I, we're going to talk about the cheeses. Jason, why don't you do a quick introduction to our friends here at home?
As far as
The show a couple times now, or
twice.
yeah, once, twice, three times. But
So
might as well just
I grew up in Rhode Island. Family. We worked in restaurants, and I worked off Federal Hill, and some of the best Italian restaurants in the city. And I opened up Foxwoods and Mohegan's casinos, and I hated cold weather, so I thought I'd make my way to Hawaii, and I would drive across country first. I ended up landing in New Orleans. And if anybody's been there, you can get stopped very easily.
Yeah.
And after about a month in a hotel, everybody's like, "How are you gonna try to get a job?" So I ended up working at Commander's Palace and working for Animals for a while, and then Katrina hit. Moved on out. Was fortunate to work with the Vitali group with Bostonich, Carnevino, and that's where we originally, Michael and I originally met, and with a few other great people in town, Plasby, and that was kind of the start of Vegas being focused on farm to table, artisanal products, and figuring out how to get Vegas out of the buffet doldrums in a certain sort of sense.
It was difficult in the beginning to go ahead and when I started this business, MGB Specialty, talking to the chefs and then telling them, okay, good, we have fresh truffles. Yes, they're $1,500, $1,600, $2,800 a pound for white truffle. And why is the price going up and down? And how much do I have to shave on them? Doing foie gras. Oh my God, it was fresh foie gras, fresh mushrooms. We're bringing in all the seasonal mushrooms. We're bringing in chanterelles, morels. We're bringing in hedgehogs. We're bringing in the lobster mushrooms. So there was a bunch of it that we brought in and then brought to the chef. There's a quick, good story. Commander's Palace at the Aladdin. Chef Carlos Gia and Chef Michael Jordan at Rosemary's, they were telling me about this absolutely incredible pink chanterelle from New Orleans. And only have a 6 to 8 week growing season.
Impossible to get.
Well, Carlos was wonderful enough. Carlos Gia is now the executive chef over at Aria, and we're still good friends. And he says, call this number, Crucemanos in New Orleans, who used to be a fish company. Okay. And I told him, I said, I talked to the son actually. And the first thing he says, how did you hear about the pink chanterelles? And I told him, and I mentioned Carlos Gia, and I mentioned Chef Michael Jordan. He says, okay, good. You're going to get pink chanterelles. So we brought in pink chanterelles out of New Orleans, and he was just spectacular. Oh, my God. Absolutely. So, yes, it was difficult in those days to have quality product consistent.
And this is about 15 years ago.
Everything was flown in, everything was shipped in, everything was trucked in. We're still actually today, we just got 100 pounds of fresh chanterelles, and we got about
another 100.
Yeah, beautiful chanterelles. Absolutely, Eastern Oregon. They're just.
I bought a pound last week.
I know.
I did risotto, an omelet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I would like to make what we call in Germany, in Bavaria, actually, a Schwammerl soup. Schwammerl is a nickname for mushroom, and you just saute the chanterelles with a lot of shallots and parsley, and then you add a little bit of cream, sherry wine, to reduce it, and then the cream to reduce it, and then you just put a half of a bread dumpling in the center. And that's your Schwammerl, okay? A typical Bavarian dish.
Sounds like I think most of us would be all right with that.
Yeah, I think so. What do you think?
Oh, well, of course. Well, I'm from southern France, so in southern France, everything is like a little bit of garlic, a little bit of parsley,
Yes.
so
Rosemary,
yeah,
oregano.
yeah. So we just saute the mushroom with garlic and a little bit of parsley, and that's it.
Yeah. So anyway, so here we go. Here we are 20 years later, and we got you enjoying us and joining us for this wonderful evening. So let's talk about the wine first.
Sure.
Okay. And then we're going to go into the cheeses.
Of course. Well, we already started on the cheese.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry.
By the way, cheers to everybody. Thank you so much for joining
Cheers.
us. Cheers, Caroline.
Cheers.
Jason.
Cheers. So everybody's enjoying a Shannon Ridge Petite Syrah, which is kind of a misnomer in a sense. Like there's really no such thing as Petite Syrah. The actual varietal is called Durif, Durif, and it was created by a gentleman named Francois Durif in France back in the late 1880s as a blend between Syrah and Poison was the other varietal, and it was a flower essentially, and it was just something that he was growing in his greenhouse. And anything you have in a closed environment is eventually going to get together, and so they did, and they created what you would call Petite Syrah, but most of the world knows it as Durif. Only in America and Israel do they call it Petite Syrah. And it is no real relation in a sense as far as a varietal when it comes to Syrah. It does have some characteristics, but they're completely different. Petite Syrah has more tannin structure to it. It's got surely more of an herbal component. And the specific producer, Clay Shannon, was a farmer for a very long time in Napa Valley. He worked for some of the most prominent producers. And at some point, he knew he was going to want to own his own land and put something together that was sustainable and to be able to do what he wanted of Napa Valley, about 30 miles north in an area called Lake County. There's a clear lake there, beautiful mountains surrounding it, cool climate, high mountain elevation fruit, basically surrounded by nature. And it gives him an opportunity to produce some really unique varietals and unique wine in a sense of California. They coined sustainable before it actually was, something cool and unique to do. But it's always been the right thing to do in their family. So Clay Shannon was adamant about from the beginning having things that do make milk, like sheep, that kind of graze the canopy and fertilize the vineyards, and owls, bobcats and deer, and every animal you could imagine in California comes to their vineyard on any given day. But that was his design. From 180 acres, now he has 2,000, and he's kind of created this ecosystem there that is quite unique. It's it's generally not American in a sense. It's something you do in Europe. And he's kind of brought a little bit of that. But this Petite Syrah is quite special. So high mountain elevation, cool. Night times, hot daytimes, create a little bit of fruit with some beautiful acidity that makes a wine that can pretty much go with any type of cuisine, and which is why we always try to match this wine with several different styles of cheese.
Well, and the nice thing about it was the notes of blueberry, blackberry, and so forth. It has these undernotes. It goes really well because obviously cheese and fruit. Caroline, why don't you talk about?
Think about the wine as a compote to a cheese platter. So
Good night, ladies.
high mountain fruit. You're talking huckleberries, mulberries, blueberries. Black cherries. Things that are really grown at a high elevation. They're really be called. You have these small little morsels of these delicious fruit that kind of cuts the richness and the fat that you're going to get with a lot of the cheese. So,
I think that the red goes so well with each other. Every fermenting process, okay, and the curing process. So yes, that's I think that's why cheese and wine goes so well. Okay. Caroline?
Yes.
You want to talk about the cheeses?
Okay, so tonight we have 4 cheeses, and we're going to start with the Petit Basque. So the Petit Basque is obviously from the Basque region in France. That means it's produced in the Pyrenees Mountain. So this one is 100% sheep's milk. You on this one, you don't eat the rind. It's a kind of waxy, plasticky, so you don't.
You don't want to eat that.
No, you don't want to eat that. I mean, you could eat. I mean the second layer, but you take off the first. You peel the first layer, and then you could eat the second rind. So of course, this one is a little format.
like I said, this is, you have a little bit of cheese, and then you have a little bit of wine, and each time you taste the wine, it develops. So surely it develops as the wine is in the glass. It develops as the wine opens. So you're always getting nuances that are changing when it comes to your flavors. What type of blue fruit are you getting now?
Quick question in regards of decanting wines. Okay, and I mean, here, this is my form of decanting. Take the cork and pour. So tell us or talk to us a little bit about decanting, because I think decanting more and more. Well, you tell me.
I mean, I'm a fan of decanting. I think it's not done in restaurants enough. Now, there are certain wines there's a few wines that I would say, no, you don't want to decant. But those are misnomers in a sense. They're generally older wines or specific regions, Barbarescos, Barolo. Sometimes they lose. Decanting can lose fruit. It will change any wine when you decant, but sometimes decanting cannot benefit a wine. And it's tough to understand exactly which one will and which one won't. But the majority, especially most, benefit from a little oxygen, a little being open to a certain extent. You have to experiment.
So when would you, at what price range and what wines would you decant?
I wouldn't say prices has anything really to do with it. I would say it's the wine that has more alcohol or strength to it, I guess you could say. There's no absolute. There's so many different variables. Right. Decanting this wine for half an hour before you taste it would definitely benefit. It's going to become Petit Syrah is a tannic wine. It's got some power to it. So when you're decanting a wine, you're just kind of trying to subdue that a little bit. And it also depends on how long you want to decant it or when you're going to have it. If you're going to open a wine and have dinner right away, you could decant any wine. It's kind of sexy. It's neat. You know what I mean? Yeah. To have a decanter at home, they're not that expensive. It's not only do you remove some of the sediment from some older wines, you bring a different element. It's like a decant. It's just it's an extra step. Yes, you've got to clean it and take care of it, and, go through the whole process of decanting it. But it just it's like having wine in a nice glass. It's just a little bit nicer.
Yeah.
And there's definitely, if a wine is tannic, strong, has a high amount of alcohol, will generally, not all the time, but generally benefit from decanting.
You decanted.
It's a great thing. I love decanting.
Yeah, you decanted the wine for us when we had dinner over at Carbone.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember the wine, but it's been a few years ago. But oh my God, it was really, we tried it beforehand, and then we tried it after decanting, and it was a huge difference.
Experiment.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
The bottle's yours. You're at home. You got a decanter. You got a bottle. See which ones kind of work and which ones don't. And I mean, it's like I said, it's one of those. There's a fine line on which ones you should, which ones you shouldn't. But it's just knowing about each individual producer, the vintage. There's a lot of different things that can come involved in it. But the majority of wines, if you want to have a little fun at home, decant it and open it up a little bit and try it out. It's not.
Well, I'm.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah, sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I like the pairing. For me, I taste cherry. I don't know. What do you think?
Black cherry for sure.
Yes, black cherry with that cheese. The cheese is very, mild, creamy, fruity. With the wine together, I
think it's a great match.
It's a great match, definitely.
The fattiness of the goat cheese, okay, and the aromas and tastes of the Petit Syrah is right there.
Yeah.
Okay. We just had Chris joining us.
Hello, everyone. I'm a bit late, excuse me.
Welcome. Chris, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself real quick? We invited him tonight because I did a cheese class with him a while back at the Elysian, a piping complex with Chris, and it was a good match. We had a lot of fun talking about cheese and charcuterie and wine, and that's, of course, always the purpose, is talking about the fun things in life. So why don't you introduce yourself a little?
Sure. My name is Christopher Williams. I live here locally in Las Vegas. I've been here for about 5 years. I'm a sommelier. I have a company called The Vine Life, and I've been doing this lovely thing of ours with wine and cheese for about 20 years now, and came across these lovely people earlier in the year. Early in the year, and you hit it off right off the bat, and look forward to doing more of this as much as possible. So,
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining.
So
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having
me. And
Cheese Syrah,
Yes.
Shannon Bridge.
so
Gotcha.
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers.
cheers.
Absolutely.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Okay, Caroline, why don't you go ahead and talk about the second cheese?
Okay, so just a minute. I just finished a little plate for Chris.
Here's a little plate for Chris,
Yeah.
since he's so far away from the corner.
Yes. So the second cheese is the Chimney Rock from Cowgirl's Creamery. And this cheese is the one for the fall. So I would say that Cowgirl Creamery, they're in California, they make great cheese and they make seasonal cheeses. So this one is one of them, is the one for the fall. So the Chimney Rock is dusted with ground organic shiitake mushroom and dusted with savory summer and black pepper. So
If you bring it up to your nose, you can actually smell the shiitake mushroom. The mushroom, definitely.
Got that one
Oh,
from
yeah.
Stony.
Kind of reminds me of.
So Cowgirl Creamery started in 1997, and they believe in organic dairy. So everything they produce is organic, all their cheeses. So this one is a soft ribbon cheese. I would say, the best part is in the rind, of course.
Yeah. The one thing that's different on that cheese, Cowgirl Creamery uses a technique where they double cook the curd. So Cowgirl Creamery is obviously using Strauss milk, Strauss Family Farms.
Yeah.
It's all Petaluma and North going towards Fort Bragg up there. And so organic milk, double the curd. So that's why their cheeses are always a little bit more dense than, for example, the St. Stephen from Four Fat Father. Okay, that of course is getting really creamy as a triple cream. Mount Tom from Cowgirl is a creamery. Is it also considered a triple cream, but it's not as creamy as the St. Stephen from Four Fat Fowl.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the Saint Stephen is probably made in the, I would say, the old fashioned of the soft ripen cheese. That means they're ripened very slowly, and they put that in the mold and they let it just drain the whey, and that's the originally way to make a brie or soft ripen cheese, but Cowgirl Creamery do it in a different way, and which is really good.
I love it.
Yeah, I just love it.
Peggy and Sue are doing a phenomenal job with their cheeses. And if you travel or happen to be in San Francisco, go out to Petaluma and visit the production plant over there. Get a tour. Ask for Deborah Dickinson or even Peggy. If you go to the farmstead, the original, up at Point Reyes Station up there, then you get to see Peggy and Sue. They live right there, and they still make cheese. Right there in the facility, you can grab an incredible sandwich or a salad, and you can watch them make cheese.
It's got great texture. I love the texture of this. And
What's your input on that?
It's got a very clean palate to it, and I love the texture of it. It seems like it would hold up well if you needed to have it out for a little while,
Yeah,
or even travel with it. It seems like it would hold
the
up
thing
well.
is, it's very creamy at first, and then you have all those spice and herbs on the background.
Yes.
Mm.
I think, again, another one that pairs really well with, of course, the Shannon Ridge. Jason, what is your input on?
Yeah.
You could pull out like a little, it's like Provence wine that matches up with the rind. Wine that matches up with the rind.
Okay.
But I would say that, this is a texture match when it comes together. It's
Yeah, I agree. You want something that drinks really clean. It's refreshing with that.
like you said, it's not an overly cloying wine. It's not a ton of, it's mountain fruit, but it's not like decadent, rich, Napa, sappy, syrupy.
Yeah.
It's got some pleasantness to it. And I think this matched a lot of like wash rind cheeses. When you get the double and the triple creams, can be really decadent. Really, really rich and really, really creamy. I think these kind of work off each other in that sense.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
This one, again, it's their seasonal falls, and I absolutely love Cowgirl Creamery. The cheese makers, the people that are producing the cheese, the people that I get to work with and talk on the phone, and it really shows the care put into the cheese.
Well, I would say they make cheese with heart.
Yes.
Yeah. If I can
That's what matters.
add on
Yeah.
to that for a second. Dealing, with some most amazing friendships and people that I've met my entire life. Like it was, I recently this afternoon actually went into a restaurant that's about to open this weekend, and they were doing training. It just brought back. Like, I just wanted to be there. It's like opening restaurants is something special.
Yeah.
There's a uniqueness about it,
Yeah.
And having your own little baby, and then working together on the floor and creating something that's pretty unique. I've been blessed to have some great people to work with that I've been able to be put in those situations that I've learned so much from and enjoyed. But I would say that like talking about what he said about being so close to the suppliers. On the cheese side, now I work on the distribution side, and I'm so much closer to the winemakers, so much closer to the people that are, in the vineyards on every single day. And it really brings you to a different thought process and a different level about what these people are creating.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I
How
totally
special
agree
these
with you.
products are, whether you like them or not. It's
And
their heart.
this is what, same for us. I mean, Caroline and me, this is exactly what we have to tell you about the cheesemakers and the producers, just like Chris and Jason talking about the winemakers.
Sure.
I had the pleasure of working with you you invited the wine tasting to Ferraros, which was top notch. Not only from the food, but wines were just spectacular. spectacular. And we can taste the whole palette or the variety that, and it was a treat. It was an absolute treat. So
I'm
thank
here
you.
and doing a cheese tasting or cheese pairing.
That's it.
Can you make that like a brie?
Yes, you could.
Repeat the question.
Okay, can you bake this? We were asked, can you bake this like a baked brie? I don't think that you can. I would then, when you fold it inside the puff pastry or the phyllo dough, I would definitely make sure I would have a nice compote on top of it so it runs down the center and it starts to melt the cheese. But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure you can
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
I think this would go
I
really
would-
well with like a prosciutto crust or serrano ham, kind of searing it.
That would be sexy.
Well,
That's what I'm thinking. With
well,
a side
you
of
know,
chanterelles,
we have to find
side of
ideas.
chanterelles
I
and a
mean,
burgundy.
Yes.
The
Going home.
baked brie is on December. Is that the,
Yes,
yeah?
that's the next
Yeah,
class
the-
coming
in
up.
December. No,
December.
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 Yeah, the
December, we're
So
going to do the baked
yes.
brie.
if you
Yeah.
think of something, email us.
Yes, please email
Yes.
Caroline, email me, Michael at MGP Food, or Caroline at curedwhey.com.
No.
MGP Food.
Also,
Yes,
oh,
MGP
I'm sorry, Caroline at MGP Food. So, get my things mixed up here. But just have any questions, please feel free to email us any given time. And then a lot of you, of course, they have my cell phone number, so text me. I'm always happy to answer. Okay. On the salamis we have tonight, just to bring that into the occasion, we got the Casella or Onestri, Cesare Casella, obviously a Tuscan producer, chef, charcuterie maker, world renowned. He had an incredible restaurant in New York, sold to dedicate more time directly to charcuterie again. Making a prosciutto, he's making a soppressata mild, a hot, a capicola or a coppa hot and a coppa mild. He's making an incredible finocchiona, which is a fennel salami that is a little bit of a larger chunkiness to it, but so complex in flavor. And so are these two when you bite them. It has a natural casing. Some people like it, some people don't, so it's up to you. I enjoy that. So please feel free to sample that and eat that. And again, with the fattiness that it has and it leaves in your mouth, I feel that it goes really well with the Shannon Ridge.
I mean, almost all charcuterie is going to go great with wine. Charcuterie than it is cheese.
Yeah.
When you get 4 different styles and different creams and different regions, there's no absolute perfect, but there are certain things that kind of bridge the gap between those two. About charcuterie, almost any wine, charcuterie is white or red.
Yeah.
It's the acidity and the fat.
Yeah, and again, it's the same
And-
reflected in the cheeses.
I think when it comes to when you're pairing cheeses, you
Aosta. This one here. It's a cheese from Italy, from northern Italy, the Valle d'Aosta. This one is a semi-soft wash ring cheese, aged for 3 months. This is a beautiful cheese to make fondue because it's very popular in the Valdostana fonduta, which is the traditional local version of fondue in Italy. But also, they put that cheese in gnocchi or polenta. And so this cheese is very rich, buttery. It's got a earthy flavor, very rich on the palate. I need to taste it with the wine.
What makes it incredible, I feel, is remember we were talking about, or quite often in the classes, We're talking about terroir. The soil, you can taste it. They eat everything from the grasses to the thistles to the weeds, and it reflects, of course, in milk.
Yeah.
And it's just this one, you can shred it, you can slice it, you can dice it. Okay.
Yeah. This one.
Melt it into a cheese fondue, like Caroline said, or make a sandwich and melt it over a sandwich. It's just absolutely very unique. Take a baked potato, shred it, and put it on top of a baked potato.
You can almost feel like what the cow's eating. In a
Yeah,
sense.
I mean,
Yes.
and especially when you pair it with
I'm
the
like
wine.
a cow eating the grass. I'm like thinking about this is the milk I'm going to produce. It has that
So
herbal component.
yeah,
Yeah.
I like with the wine it brings the earthiness of the you're like, oh, I'm in the
It's a great
mountain.
melting cheese. So
Yeah.
It's very difficult to make a great melting cheese that has complexity.
That's what makes this particular cheese so different, because of the different characteristics. Phenomenal skiing. If you ever want to go skiing in Europe, it's right below the Dolomite region, and the skiing is fantastic. And the people,
It's
awesome.
one of the most undiscovered, unique regions of Italy.
Yeah.
You know, you're right on the border of France, Switzerland, and Italy. The
Austria.
farthest northwestern corner of Italy that you can get to, like the dynamite, aperitifs, digestives. It's a food coma in a sense.
It's-
Like the fruit, the mountain fruit that you could possibly get from there. The cheeses obviously that we've been tasting, the charcuterie that they have. The rich decadent sauces, the beef tongue, go on and on and on. It's
It's
Yeah.
endless.
It's unique.
It's endless. I mean, any spot that you travel to, enjoy the local food, enjoy the local offerings. When I took Kathy to Europe, we hike a lot. Okay, usually about 10, 12 miles a day is average, and we usually stay in a camper. That way, we have to unpack once, and we have our hotel room everywhere where you go with us. And we can enjoy cheese and charcuterie and wine, and we fill it up, and we just travel to the next spot and then meet the people there. We, of course, eat out for dinner, but breakfast and lunch, it's right there in the camper.
good. Meat and cheese.
Yes.
Of course. Wine, of course.
Please one.
Those are the things that are just absolutely. If you want to go to Europe, come here, talk to me, and talk to Caroline, to me, and I'm more than happy to put a trip together for you. I've done it now several times, where you can, like, for example, there's two of the people that I actually did that for. They bought one, the Audi, and the other one bought the BMW. And when I set him up with his wife wasn't too happy with me, because this absolutely incredible mountain road where you go up the pass and then you drop right down into Innsbruck from Germany into Austria. And his wife hit me a couple of times for that, because it's high mountains, it's sharp corners, it's serpentines, or not mountains, but it's so beautiful. And I told her to have lunch right on top of the mountain is a small guest house by a lake or by a dam. And they had lunch over there, and he's sending me pictures from them having lunch out on the patio and enjoying themselves.
That's
It was fantastic.
We know a few wine people over there too, so
Yeah, absolutely.
reach out to Michael and we'll
Yeah.
make sure that side of it comes into play too.
We can do cheese, wine, and even there a couple of charcuterie makers all over.
All the way around.
In the BMW dealership.
And the BMW, or the Audi.
A good
For the
reference.
LD, yeah.
I have more connection to Mercedes and Porsche than I have to BMW, sadly. But it's all okay.
Yeah.
All German cars.
Yeah.
All right.
Go Tesla.
Huh?
Go Tesla.
Go Tesla. But it still is not a BMW or a Mercedes.
It doesn't rev, but we're saving the environment car by car.
Good for you.
Yeah, you're right. Well,
Okay.
Tesla is coming to Europe too.
It's
Oh,
more and
there.
more.
More
Yeah,
and more.
it's there. It's there. Actually, we were just
we were
Going off
talking
the
about
subject.
sustainable. We were talking about sustainable. I know.
Yeah, farms are winemakers. They're all sustainable, and so is Tesla. Couple of things that when it comes to these cars, that I'm a little bit. Yes, they are saving the environment from CO2 gases and exhaust, but it still takes a lot of minerals and product to go ahead and make these cars. Anyway,
Let's drink some more and have some more
Let's-
cheese.
here we go, more cheese.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the last cheese.
So the last cheese, it's the blue cheese. Whoops. The blue Stilton, as you could see, this one. I mean, very easy to recognize with the blue vein. So the blue Stilton is from England. So it's from Derbyshire, Nottinghamshire, and Leicestershire. I'm not sure that I pronounced it the right way. It's in the French way, okay?
It's okay.
But it has to come from those in England. It only can be made in a cylindrical shape. It's a big cheese. I would say in taste, it's a little more mild than Roquefort and Gorgonzola Picante. It's rich, mellow flavor with a pungent aftertaste. And also we have to say that this is the cheese has to be creamy. I mean, even if it crumbles very well, you could crumble that over your salad, but it's still very creamy. It's supposed to be creamy. So I'm going to taste it with the wine to see how it pairs. Oh, that blue cheese is just so creamy.
No, it's
Yeah.
party. It's definitely party.
This is the pairing.
Yeah, it definitely is.
If we had to pick these and pick a wine,
I just love
the kind of port-like sense, the tannin, the dryness.
I was just going to ask you that because what I find is interesting when you bring with blue cheese, you want something, of course, that's going to carry the flavor through and match it. But also, I like to get a little sneaky with it, and sometimes pair wine that aren't necessarily as heightened in flavor profile as the cheese, just to kind of enhance that back end.
Yeah.
And that kind of works out well. Something smooth and creamy.
Yeah.
That's
So blue cheese pairs actually very well with sweet wine like port. That's a beautiful pairing.
And this being American,
right.
Petite Syrah has a little sweetness to it.
It does have.
Yeah, I mean,
There's high mountain
for me,
blue fruit.
yeah, it brings out the earthiness of the cheese.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is actually
So
very
the same
energetic,
thing with the.
Winemaker. I could go on and on about this guy. Clay Shannon is unique. He is.
I like it. It's great.
You could argue an equivalent of like Andy Beckstoffer. He's one of the best farmers in America. He is, grew up farming and put himself in a great position that, learn about winemaking as well. Has understood that he wasn't going to be able to farm and make wine in Napa, given the price, given the time period that he was looking for a property. But they've made a name for themselves. By all means, shoot us any questions. Really ask, Michael, about the portfolio, and I will gladly respond with an email as well. These are very unique. It's a great region.
Yes.
It's a great value.
It's just for the price and for the quality.
It'd be difficult to find anything in California
It's
on that
excellent.
bar.
Yeah, it's excellent. I mean, I can rave about it too. I really fell in love when you
They're
first introduced me to it.
Sustainably farmed. They've got their labels. They spent the money to put themselves in a situation that was correct.
And you can taste that in the wine. They started out doing it right.
Yeah.
Okay. I've never thought I would be more of a Petite Syrah. I've always been a Cabernet, or I've been Bordeaux and Côte d'Iron wines. or then the heavy German red Müller-Thurgaus. Okay, so but this one is excellent.
How many Petit Syrah producers do you know of? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's strictly for
There's no one cranking it out.
And like I said, this one gets you right at the first sip. I mean, it jumps right on you, right on top, and you get energy from it. You can almost taste the location you were mentioning to me, like with the high elevation, the crisp morning air, and opening up to that bright burst of sun. You get that in the glass with this.
Absolutely.
Where's the best place to get Shannon Ridge?
Where's the best place? Well, obviously
Cured
here
Whey.
at Cured Whey, right over here, we will have it. Well, actually, this is, believe it or not, I believe this is our last bottle. Yes. So,
Do we want to text
We have
the
more.
wine guy?
huh?
Text the wine
Yeah,
guy.
I need to
Yeah.
text my wine guy to
Yeah.
go ahead and get more.
Yeah.
They
But-
made a few more bottles. So you're
Yes, absolutely. So that will be back here probably by the middle of next week, and
good. Wednesday for sure.
Wednesday for sure. Okay, here we go. So you heard it right from Jason. Wednesday we have the
But
wine.
they have a lot of other great varietals. They're a unique winery. They're focused on some pretty spectacular stuff. So there's a few spots in town that also have about the glass, not necessarily the specific varietal. But yeah, come back here and get this one specifically, and they have a great. Check out their website. They're pretty extraordinary.
Yes.
Brian actually has a clip from Mitch, who is one of the top guys and works for the winery that he has on the website.
Yeah.
Kind of gives a little synopsis about who they are and how unique.
I'm gonna have
Vin-
Brian post
vineyard
it
is.
on.
It's already up on our YouTube channel.
Sorry, it's up on our YouTube channel.
It is.
Here we go.
It is.
Thanks, Brian.
Which is
Out of
On the plus.
they're just good people that make great wine.
Well, and yesterday we were talking about the expense of buying property in California, not only for the farmers, for the wine, the impact on the environment that we just recently had with all the fires. What is your guys' input on it?
So 2017 was gone.
Yeah.
Almost all producers didn't make 2017.
Yeah.
Some did. They produced very little. 2020 will be very similar. So there's a tool that measures the smoke taint in a grape is on the vine, but that doesn't translate to the actual wine itself. So if they feel it's above a certain percentage, they'll usually drop the fruit. Dropping the fruit means just cutting it off and letting it go back into the soil, and trying to salvage what they can. But depending on where you were in Napa, or Washington or Oregon or all over California, it really makes a big difference.
Yeah.
But most Napa producers that I have talked to, if you're south of Calistoga, most of them were okay. It depends on where they had their vineyard. Sometimes it's not necessarily the grape that has an issue or the vineyards that have an issue. It's a lot of times it's the people that are trying to farm the grapes. So now when you have these huge fires and they shut down areas to obviously protect infrastructure, protect people, you can't necessarily get workers. Even if your area is okay, you can't get workers in to farm that. In certain grapes like Sauvignon Blanc is like you've got a window, you've got 20 hours. This is how you pick the exact sugar level and the acid level. A lot of this is scientific. So, it's to be determined, but you don't really know if your vineyard or your wine or your vineyards are going to have smoke taint or be off. That's unfortunate. Yeah.
It's going to be until you go through the process, unfortunately. But I think we're going to be pretty similar to what we saw,
17.
Okay.
17.
You can't
Yeah,
ignore it. It is what it is.
It's almost a mirror image.
Better
of what we
forest
saw.
management.
Yeah.
Better science coming in
Yeah.
to figure out how to combat that is the only way that in the future this is obviously going to be an issue moving forward.
I I firmly believe, and growing up in Europe, southern France used to get really bad wildfires. Germany, where I grew up, the forests have been managed since the early 1800s, where they take all the underbrush out.
Mhm.
Okay, so they don't have these massive fires. Because in the old days, quite honestly, there was large fires. It destroyed entire villages. And so they started doing forest management. And I never understood why they stopped doing that, especially in California. I understand there's a couple of environmental groups. We have to protect this, we have to protect that. But in the end, it's protecting the forest. Okay,
Sure.
and I mean, we can argue about that. But I think that forest management, I think, is a big factor.
It is a big factor.
It's very rarely that a vineyard burns. There's tons of water in it. It's fruit all over the place.
Yeah.
But like Chris said, it's no matter it's day to pick, and you're put behind a fire line. And the fire department won't let you get to
Yeah.
your winery to pick. You're at the the will of the people that are making those decisions to try to save lives.
I think also now, when the severity once again is taking place this year, now the mindset has to change going forward. This is no longer, oh, it happened. Hasn't happened in 50 years or 30 years or 20. No, this is going to keep
in a
happening.
couple of years.
Yeah, this is going to. So now the mindset changes, and the approach has to change.
You can survive a vintage or two.
Exactly.
Start talking about multiple vintages.
Yeah.
It's already
Yeah.
difficult to make money in wine.
Yes.
Or cheese. I
It,
mean,
it will change.
Yeah.
There's only 39 family-owned wineries in Napa Valley at the moment. Like they're being because
Yes.
it becomes harder and harder, and when these things happen, it becomes even more difficult. So
Yeah. And I did a lot with the Sonoma County side with those mom and pop
support
situations.
those mom and pop local wineries.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with some of the big guys, and some of their wines are spectacular. But
Yeah.
think every now and then, stay away from some of those and try to figure out someone you can actually, support. You support local on so many other things, Cured Whey and so many other restaurants.
Oh, it's just like
Wineries
the
are the
cheese.
same.
The cheese that you were speaking of earlier, that you said is made with love and
Yes.
with familial touch. It's the same with wine. It's no
Yeah.
different.
Yeah, that's
It's no different.
All right.
That's why I'm always so fascinated.
You
Charcuterie,
can tell the difference.
cheese,
Yes.
wine, and bread. Okay, I mean, those are the four things that there's so much to learn and there's so much science in it.
What was number 4?
Huh?
What was number 4?
Bread. Definitely bread. I mean, it's just amazing. I just had I got the pleasure to try a sourdough where the starter was brought with them from Europe in 1825. And they've been nurturing that. It's like 1825. Oh my God. Think about that. How many years that starter? And it's only a small jar about,
Almost 200.
huh?
200 years they've been
Almost
babying
200.
that. Think about if you had to
Exactly.
water your garden. If you didn't have irrigation and you had to water the same plant for 200 years.
So it's a family tradition, and it was just handed off, of course, to this young, inspiring chef. And he's making now these sourdoughs for him and the family, and it's oh my God, it's excellent. No, it's excellent. Last question in regards of the wine. Do you think, and how do you feel about the fire retardant that is being sprayed all over? How will that affect the groundwater or the grapes? Or could it even affect that?
I don't know. I'm not. That's a great question, and I'll look into that for sure. That's an excellent question. It's something I hadn't thought about, and I haven't looked into. So I can't really talk about it. But I would like to think that the fire department has thought about having some sort of sustainable fire retardant or making. So, I mean, I don't think they're spraying the fields of grapes with fire retardant. I think fire retardant generally is used in extreme cases of trying to protect something like a high mountain that has a lot of radio towers or some sort of
That's a
a
good
building
question.
that needs something,
Right,
but
right.
it's a
Like
great
where
question. I
specifically it's
wouldn't.
used.
I will. I'll have to reach out to someone that knows more about that topic.
That's a great question.
That's
Yeah,
a phenomenal
that's
question.
actually
I know that
I don't to know like how it would
how that would affect water.
how it would affect anything
exactly.
else.
I mean, in the old days, they had the
It's
water.
California. I would have to
Yeah.
think they thought about this.
Right.
Well, you would have figured.
Right, yeah.
Okay, I mean, in the old days, it was the fire tankers. I remember being in '85 in Mammoth Lakes, and we had a big wildfire back then up there, and the water tankers going down to Lake Crowley, going down to literally level, and just scooping up the water coming up, dump the water coming back. But now with the fire retardant, it's a little bit of a different situation
Yeah.
using water versus.
The best answer I could say is I will reach out to people that I know that know more than me, that are more expertise. This is more of their expertise, and I'll get back to you with that.
Okay, I appreciate that. I know that quite a few milk producers and cheese makers are feeling that influx of these retardants and of the smoke, and it's amazing what they do. This year has been kind of a challenge for all of us. So please support your local cheesemakers, support your local winemakers, support your local bakers.
I'm going to text somebody.
Um,
Hopefully, maybe we'll get back
Yeah.
shortly to me.
Okay. It's just so important right now. And again, thank you all for supporting us, supporting this, and joining us here in our living room. And yeah, I know a lot of cheesemakers right now that reduce their cows. Row Creamery, who won the world's best blue cheese last year in Italy and in London, which we have because we already got pre-orders, and it's a spectacular cheese to try. So you have this Oregon blue cheese produced by Row Creamery, David Gremmel and his team.
Organic.
Organic.
All organic.
And they make everything. They make great leaves to wrap the cheese in. I mean,
Harvest by hands.
everything is done. They're cooking down their own alcohol to make.
It's
amazing.
It's an organic pear brandy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the grape leaves are macerated in the pear brandy, and then they wrap that cheese, with that pear brandy, and cheese is just amazing.
And then
it's aged for a year,
Yeah.
so you have those little crystal inside, and the pear brandy with the blue cheese. It's phenomenal. Yeah,
Which-
you need that cheese.
Yeah, no,
You need
absolutely.
that cheese. Yeah.
it's well, in my eyes, I always liked Row Creamery. I like
Yeah.
the blue to the Row Creamery too. It's just endless. They're producing such incredible cheeses, and hearing of their hardship from the fires, having to give away some of the cows because of the fires, not being able to keep them on their land. And it's going out through Oregon, Washington, California right now. Jason has the answer, so we're going to get back to that.
So Eric Kokomo, who owns Kokomo Vineyards, he's arguably, out of all the winemakers I know and the wine people, the geekiest, most scientific winemaker. Like when I bring him out, I'm like, no, you can talk to them. You're gonna lose them. And other ones, you're like, oh, go nuts. But he makes some dynamite wines. He makes a Pat Nat that would knock socks off. Just a Dry Creek Valley up in northern Sonoma. A unique individual that makes some pretty spectacular wines. His Kokomo wines are named after Kokomo, Ohio, Indiana, where he grew up. Thank you for correcting me. And he's just unique in the way that he thinks about making wine. He's more, let's make wine natural, but not weird natural. So he said
One of the first
it's made of organic material and acts as a fertilizer, but it's bad for the lakes because of the algae blooms.
Yeah.
So overall, it's not bad for the retardant is not bad for farming. Of course, California, if they're going to use retardant, they thought about it and made it an organic material, and so it just kind of helps the land more. It's probably why sometimes forest recover so quickly. Maybe.
I hope so. I mean, I know certain seeds need the heat of the fire to go ahead and germinate and grow.
Or other
Okay,
animals
pop
eat it.
open, and yes, for animals to eat it. And it's interesting. We used to let our chickens roam in the backyard, and if we had old tomatoes, we would give them to the chickens. And then all of a sudden, I had tomatoes growing in the weirdest places. So, but good tomatoes, and I'm pretty sure it's the same. I mean, it's amazing how
Makes sense.
animals affect the growing of the different flowers and seeds and everything, and how they're spreading it, because they're eating seeds, and then of course they drop them,
Experimenting.
and so it's kind of interesting to see that. All right,
Any other cheese wine questions?
Yeah.
if you have any questions, please text us, email us, and Brian will make me read or repeat the question. Brian, listen, I want to say in front of everybody, thank you for getting us to the 21st century and doing the internet for us. And it's amazing. Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Now we got Chris here.
Yeah.
Very, very glad to be here.
Doesn't look like anybody's taking.
Nope. Okay.
Okay.
Well, I guess
You want to finish up? or-
Yeah, I think we can finish up.
Yeah.
Chris, Jason, Caroline, thank you for
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
being here, being
Yeah.
with us, and thank you for your friendship, for your knowledge, and thank
Always
you
a
all.
pleasure.
Yeah, thank you all for letting us join you in your living room. I hope you enjoyed the selection of the cheeses, and get back to us with any questions that you have. Next time, come in and talk to us, please. And more pairings coming.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
When is the next class?
Thank you.
November 18th.
So November 18th. Yes, please join us.
Goes to November 18th,
November 18th. That's the next
The next.
cheese class,
which is about.
which is about
Holiday.
holiday board building. So the Kurds nerds gonna be
Yes.
with us.
The current nerds
Yeah.
will be,
Oh,
the 19th, I'm sorry.
sorry.
but yes, the current nerds will be with us, and they will be making a board as we're keeping on talking about the cheeses and about the wines.
The Kurd
So-
nerds bring a different element to the class. A little more fun, not as rigid.
Yes, more fun. Yes.
Business crew right
Not
here.
as
Yeah.
stiff as we
Yeah,
are.
yeah.
We're old and wrapped up. They are.
Well,
They are.
thank you,
As
Caroline.
Thank
Cheers.
They're
Cheers.
Cheers.
the
Jason.
new and the better.
Cheers. Oh,
Chris, thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Yes, cheers.
Thank you for joining us,
Appreciate
and we'll see you soon in the shop or again through virtual cheese class. Thank you and good night.
Bye.